Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're glad you're with us. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and we're revisiting a story that we introduced to our audience a few months back.
Yes, as we said last week, we're going to have an inspiring show today for you. If last week wasn't inspiring to the basketball fans, I'm sure it was. But here is a different kind of inspiration. We're going to be visiting with Reggie Whitten and Professor Cheryl Watley from the University of Oklahoma College of Law about the Pros for Africa trip that they just came back from with some students and others helping in Africa, doing a lot of wonderful things. We've got some footage that we'll look at. And we told you when we did a show with Reggie several months ago that he was getting ready to go on his trip. When he got back, we'd bring him on and talk about it, and that's what we're doing today.
New information on this inspiring trip. We'll be right back with more on The Verdict.
America has been here before, faced with daunting challenges, and we've always found the courage to lead. Foreign oil, greenhouse gases, we have the power to do something about them with American natural gas. Chesapeake is forging ahead, converting our fleets to clean-burning natural gas vehicles, encouraging others to do the same. Welcome to America. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Bow my head to pray. I know you hear each word I say. I'm pouring out my heart to you like water. I have faith, I have faith, I have faith in you.
And welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we're really pleased to welcome back to The Verdict two guests we've had before, not on the show together, but since we had them both on before, they have been together on a trip to Africa. On my right is Reggie Whitten. Reggie is one of the co-founders of Pros for Africa. He did his undergraduate work and his law work at the University of Oklahoma. He's primarily in private practice, involved in insurance defense work. He is a co-founder of the very fine firm of Whitten and Burridge in Oklahoma City. He's a fellow in the American College of Trial Lawyers, and he has been involved with Pros for Africa from the very beginning. Reggie, welcome back for your second visit.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. To my left is Professor Cheryl Watley. This is also Professor Watley's second visit to The Verdict. She did her undergraduate work at Smith College, did her law work at Boston University. She was a federal prosecutor for a number of years. She has been in private practice, and now she is with the University of Oklahoma as an associate professor and also head of the clinical program. And she has been affiliated recently through the OU College of Law with Pros for Africa. Cheryl, glad to have you.
And glad to be here.
Thank you.
Cheryl, can you explain the relationship with the Oklahoma College of Law and Pros for Africa?
Certainly, we've been fortunate enough to actually set up a formal collaboration with the Pros for Africa program. And what our students will be able to do as a result of this collaboration is to experience another country, to go to Africa, go to Africa along with the trips where they start helping in medical programs and medical projects, but we've also targeted legal projects, hopefully working with some judges, with training of federal law enforcement officers, and even perhaps being involved in drafting of constitutions in newly developed African nations. So there's so many different levels on which our students are going to be able to benefit from the program. The personal level of seeing just how blessed we are in this country when you travel to developing nations. So they're going to have a wonderful opportunity And while they're doing it, they're going to be able to make an impact in those countries.
Are there specific parts of Africa, specific countries where the Pros for Africa and the College of Law are working most closely?
Right now, we're targeted at Uganda and moving into the newly formed Republic of Southern Sudan. But I believe our goals are the same, and our hope is that whatever we develop in those countries will be kind of prototypes that we can take to other countries. For example, advocacy training programs. Women's issues are very in need of being addressed throughout many of the African nations. So if we can develop that program as a prototype, then we'll be able to take it to, like, perhaps Rwanda or the Congo or other countries. So that's part of what makes this so very exciting.
Cheryl, let me ask you, as Director of Clinical Programs at the University of Oklahoma College of Law, did you ever envision when you took on that title and that job that part of it would be going to Africa with students?
Well, yes and no. When I first took it on, I absolutely did not. But we were fortunate enough through Lindsay Robertson's ideas, we created an international human rights clinic, which is a perfect complement to Pros for Africa, where we study the indigenous peoples of different countries. So, I mean, it has so solidified our interests, and I think we must credit Dean Harris for his vision and for his enthusiastic reception of Reggie's invitation. He's taking OU Law School in an international arena, and with that, clinical education, because we're coming to Africa.
Reggie, let me ask you about this most recent trip. First of all, when did it happen?
It happened in March, and we were over there a total of about 2 weeks.
And who went with you? I know Cheryl and some students went with you, but whom
Yes.
else?
Well, the co-founders went, and the co-founders include myself and Jay Mitchell, who are both lawyers, Bill Horn, and then the core of the athletes are all OU players or ex-OU players: Roy Williams, Tommy Harris, Mark Clayton, Adrian Peterson, and this year we added Gerald McCoy, who just graduated from the University of Oklahoma, plays at Tampa Bay.
He was a rookie on your
Yes,
travel
sir. Very
group, I
hard,
guess.
very hard-working rookie.
And
I
what
might
is their
add.
role on these trips in Africa?
You know, I admit I wasn't sure what their role would be a year ago, but it's absolutely fascinating what they do, because they don't, the kids over there do not know who they are. They just know they're really big guys. And but what we did, we drill water wells. These are manually drilled because we leave the equipment there, and it keeps on giving after we leave. And they helped out in the pharmacy. They helped dig and build structures. We've actually built a whole school in Adiak, Uganda, which is 20 miles from the southern Sudan border. And then playing with the children. Most of the kids that we run into are female. The vast majority of them have been kidnapped, raped, and made child soldiers. They have escaped, and Sister Rosemary, who runs these schools, has taken these children in. And our athletes play games with them, interact with them, which I was worried about that at first, because I didn't think they would interact with a man. They've seen very few men who were kind to them. And our guys exemplify character and kindness, and they interacted in an unbelievable way. You have to see this to believe it.
How many people went on the trip?
This year it was a total of 92 people. It was
92?
It was a rather large group. Just to give you some numbers to compare, last year we just had the 4 core co-founders. This year we had 11 NFL players, all stars. The first year we had 4 doctors, and that was it. And we treated about 600 patients. This year we had 15 medical professionals, and we treated over 2,000 people. And so we're slowly building up infrastructure. We need more volunteers. We only had one dentist. We had one pediatric dentist, Tyann Doan, who took her 2 dental assistants. And these kids have never seen a dentist.
No.
And so we really need help there.
And what's the duration of the trip?
The trip was a total of about 2 weeks. We went to Uganda and then into Rwanda, and we hope to add a country each year. I don't know if we'll pull that off, but that's our goal. And in August, we're going back to the southern Sudan, and we actually have land in the southern Sudan, and we're going to build a school there.
Well, it's one thing to be building water wells, and it's other things to be playing with children, and it's a kind of a different track to start bringing in the College of Law. So how did that idea come
I can tell you exactly how it came about. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because Pros for Africa is about professionals of different types. And so we had engineers, we had doctors, we had football players, and people kept asking me, about my profession. What do you lawyers do? Well, the truth is, on trip one, we did about, we carried stuff, we worked, but I didn't feel good about not using my law degree. And the issues involving justice, as Professor Watley can tell you more about, are just huge. Women's rights, children's rights they're in such bad shape that it's unbelievable. And so I knew we needed legal help over there. So I'm biased. I graduated from the University of Oklahoma, so I thought we would start there. And we have a young dean who is he thinks outside the box, and he was very open to teaming up with Pros for Africa. That's Joe Harris. We couldn't do this without him. And he put me in touch with Professor Watley and Professor Robertson, and so we're off to the races.
Now, talk about how you perceived the students enjoyed the trip or didn't, as the case may be.
Oh, our students had an absolutely memorable, unforgettable experience. Unfortunately, we didn't do anything actually legal related. Yeah. They ended up working with the medical practitioners and ended up being kind of quasi-pharmacists. But as a testimony to how impacting that trip is, one of the students is going back for the summer to work with Sister Rosemary and Pros for Africa and lay some of the groundwork for some of the projects the law school has identified.
During the summer?
During this summer. That's how she's going to spend her summer between her law school years. And she's going to be doing some of the interviewing and laying the footwork and doing the groundwork for some of the activities that we hope to be doing from the College of Law. So,
what sort of interest level are you getting from the students about their enthusiasm?
We're getting a lot of interest, and we're getting a lot of interest in terms of what is it they can do and how they're going to become coordinated. So we're hoping that there will actually be an organization established called Law Students for Africa that will promote these activities throughout the law school and the law students, and they will kind of become our coordinating body.
Cheryl Watley and Reggie Whitten are here to discuss Pros for Africa and the relationship with the University College of Law. We'll be back with more on The Verdict right after this.
The thing that has made the most sense for me is realizing that I am still an educator, and that is what I do at the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Dr. Amanda Cobb-Greetham. I'm a historian, and I'm Chickasaw. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. It is a very, very special place devoted to the sharing and to the celebration of Chickasaw history and culture. State-of-the-art technology, exhibits that are not like anything I've ever seen. The Spirit Forest is incredible, and you feel as if you have actually just walked into a forest with huge trees all around you. It's timeless, and yet it's sort of also representative of our time depth, to really just sort of reach through time and touch the past. By the end of the exhibits, you really have a sense of Chickasaw cultural and political resurgence and the extent to which we are a healthy, dynamic, and vital tribe today. Chickasaws have always been an inclusive people. This is something for the whole community and for the state of Oklahoma.
In 25 years, world energy demand will grow by 44%, with oil and natural gas largely meeting the need.
The question is, will America's demand be met by American resources?
Oklahoma says yes. We're developing the largest oil and natural gas discoveries America has seen in 40 years.
It's creating jobs and millions in tax revenue for schools, roads, and hospitals.
Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, advancing our state, empowering our nation.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're visiting today with a couple of guests talking about Pros for Africa. And I want to show you a videotape now that was done in 2010 that I think really helps illustrate the great work that's being done by these two and others who are so committed to this cause.
been described by the United Nations as being one of, if not the most terrible place for children. These kids are being raped, turned into sex slaves, they're having limbs chopped off, they're being forced to murder their own parents, their own siblings. We've got to get the world to see what's going on. And so we've got to do something about it. Sister Rosemary gives them something that you can't buy. She gives them love.
This girl said she was abducted only when she was 10 years old. And before being trained as a soldier, she was forced to kill her own friend. And as I say, how did you kill your friend? Say, we were told to hit the head until she died. When she was 13 years old, she was given to a rebel commander whom she described herself was like her grandfather, to be her husband. Yeah, she gave birth to 3 kids to this man, and at the same time she had to fight. The girl escaped from captivity. Coming home, she found nobody, no parents. She found her mother was killed by the LRA, and there was nobody she could fall back on. And now she's forced to be a mother of 3 kids, and she had to be on her own.
So we've got to get the world to see what's going on, to see that it's outrageous, and to see that something's got to be done to stop it. Sister Rosemary has a school in Gulu, that's in the northern part of Uganda, and that's where the worst of this conflict exists, to provide them with a place to stay that is safe, and to provide them with a way of earning a living.
Reggie Whitten had met Sister Rosemary a few years ago, and when he talked about going over there and helping her, it was very simple. Let's get some athletes together with Adrian Peterson, Tommy Harris, Roy Williams, and Mark Clayton. Let's get some doctors together. Let's get some professionals. Let's go over there and let's help these women and these children. You'll go places where there are hundreds of thousands of people sharing 1 or 2 water wells. Water is vital for these people, and to be able to dig the water wells and show people how to dig the water wells, so as they left, people knew there was a business there to dig more water wells.
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Pros for Africa. You guys sparked a whole flurry of well drilling all throughout this region. There's gonna be clean water because of what you guys are being deliberate in doing.
We gave out flour and beans, and you could have sworn that we're giving deeds to houses out there.
As me and Adrian Peterson began to pour all the rice and the beans and the flours and all those things into the bags of the people, they only had 1 bag for flour, 1 bag for beans. And as beans began to hit the ground, they would kneel down and pick up the spare things. It was a big eye-opener for me.
We saw lots of malaria, lots of infections, ear infections, eye infections, and gastrointestinal infections as well. We saw in excess of 600 patients over the 2.5 days, and we only had 4 doctors. Every time we looked out to see how many more patients we had, the benches were full. This impacts the whole community politically, financially, and socially in lots of other areas as well. But it's a matter of what can we do in our small part to make the world a better place.
Bye-bye. Thank you for what you have done.
Just meeting these girls face to face, the first thing I wanted to do was put a smile on their face.
It was amazing to see these guys interact with the kids over there.
And give these kids something to laugh about, and give them some hope, because how do you live without hope?
Coming in brings a smile to a face of a child, of a woman, of a man who has probably never smiled for weeks.
Pros for Africa is just an example of professional athletes, professionals in any category getting up off the couch and doing something with their lives, doing more. Not just enough, we're doing more.
I think we have a great group of professionals that could come together and really impact multiple different facets of need for that population.
They're taking their networks, they're taking their experience and saying, what's the mission? Well, the mission is northern Uganda. And we've got a woman who's fighting terrorists with sewing machines. She needs our help.
And come aboard, because we need you, we want you. We want you to be able to be a blessing to other people. It's just not about football players, it's not about artists, it's not about doctors, it's about everybody. Everybody wanting to help
We want to go to Africa and make a difference in these girls' lives.
These kids can't do it on their own. They've got to have somebody help them. And so we've got to do something about it.
We're back from watching the video. Reggie, it's quite an exciting video showing us what you did last year. You got some new plans, do you not, in the medical field? Try to get some more recruits?
We do. You know, I'm a big fan of the Bedlam battle every year, and so we're going to follow that model. This year we took not only medical graduates from the University of Oklahoma, but we took about 6 from the Oklahoma State Medical School, and they have formally aligned with us, just like the law school at OU has done. So we're going to put this Bedlam to work for good instead of just bashing heads in. So we're working now with OU medical students and OSU medical students, and the plan is to form an alliance called Bedlam Area Medical Mission, or BAM for short. That seems to fit pretty good with Bedlam. And you know, our ultimate plan is to not just be OU and OSU, which is great. But our plan is to have every law school in the country eventually get on Law Students for Africa, and every medical school in the country get on some sort of Medical Student for Africa program. That's our vision, and we'll see if we're able to pull it off.
What can others do that would like to help this cause?
Well, everybody's a pro. Someone asked me, it was a housewife that asked me, can we go? And I said, you bet, you are a professional. We need women to go over there because there's so many women and children that have been raped and injured, and the loving touch of a mother, there's no substitute for that. So professionals of all kinds, that's what Pros for Africa is about. So you can go, but if you can't go, then you could support us because we have a very small core group of people that are paying for this mission so far, and we're hoping to raise money because we've got to get some money over there to build an infrastructure. We need to build a medical clinic. We actually need to build more than one, and we're going to do that.
And Cheryl, what do you have on the horizon for the university's involvement with this?
Well, we're putting together an advocacy training program where we will go over and hopefully train women in the northern Uganda area, but also some of the students from Sister Rosemary's School. Our whole focus is we want to train people who can be trainers so that it can continue beyond our visit. We've also been in contact with an office of the Ugandan government that has asked us to provide them with some access to federal law enforcement training for anti-corruption, money laundering, enforcement activities such as that. So we're hopeful that we're going to be able to continue to work with the Ugandan government in areas where law is involved.
Reggie Whitten, Cheryl Watley, thank you both for coming on The Verdict and discussing more about Pros for Africa. Kent and I'll have a final word when we get back.
Keep up the good work, folks.
Great.
Very nice.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
In Oklahoma, we enjoy a high quality of life due to good, well-paying jobs. Commercial real estate professionals play a significant role in bringing new businesses and investment to Oklahoma. The commercial real estate community has come together to market Oklahoma's commercial properties nationwide through a free public website, okcommercialproperty.com. We are invested in keeping Oklahoma strong and growing because economic development ensures quality of life.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online. Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're wrapping up a show in which we learn more about Pros for Africa, an organization that's working on so many different fronts in a part of the world that could really desperately need some help.
Indeed. In fact, when we were off camera, just briefly, I'll mention that Pros for Africa gave out over 2,000 hearing aids to the children while they were on this trip. I inquired why would they need them, because of the ear infections that go untreated, and the quinine that's used for malaria has an adverse effect on a child's hearing. So they have an awful lot of children over there with hearing impairments, so they're bringing hearing aids.
A lot of people doing some really good things, and it's hard to prioritize. I mean, obviously people need water, obviously people need medical care, but you can't underestimate what Dr. Watley and the OU law students are doing about helping them set up government and structure to the community.
Yeah, this is a great example of a small group of people doing huge things.
Yeah, and no doubt that the benefits will come for generations into the future. We're going to leave you today by showing you a 30-second video that gives you more information about Pros for Africa. This is a television commercial. You might have seen it as a PSA at some point, but we're going to allow you to see it as part of today's show of The Verdict. We're very supportive of this organization and obviously very thankful for their time for coming on here and letting you learn more about it. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next time on The Verdict.
Despite 2 decades of civil war that led to systematic abduction, rape, and brainwashing, hope prevails. She shapes the next generation, empowering young girls for a new life. Can one woman change the course of an entire region with sewing machines? With love? Imagine what she could do with all of us behind her. To hear Sister Rosemary's story and to sponsor one of these girls, go to prosforafrica.com.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.